Have you ever taken a photograph and specifically like in this situation, a portrait, and you thought to yourself, man, I got the location correct with the grungy, somber look in the background of the location. I got the look of the model correct. The in your face, black and white, don't care about the expression, the tomboy-esque persona, and you get everything correct with the facial expression and the hand position and the pose. I can see the rear hand, the hand that's furthest away from the camera. The pose is good. You got nice angles on the legs. The legs are not doing the same thing. The base is good. They got a little bit of a forward lean there. Going away from the camera, got a somber look with the somber headband, and it gets to be really tomboyish, grungy looking, a really iconic style in this picture. But then you look further into the details. You look in the head area, and you zoom in. Now, mind you, this is not a 100% image. This is like a really social media, smaller than Facebook size image. This is the only way I was able to find it. But I just wanted to make this quick video and show you this. And what is that? You got purple before the area of focus, and you got green beyond the plane of focus. So what is this? This is what professionals call chromatic aberration. You might be saying to yourself, what the heck is chromatic aberration? Now, this is a 500 times zoom, but notice how the chromatic aberration only comes when you have high contrasty areas. Now, you have high contrasty areas down here, yes, but when especially you have white light or relatively bright looking colors like the sky, you can definitely see chromatic aberration here like it's no tomorrow. You can also see some green chromatic aberration back here, if I'm not mistaken, if that's not like the trees fringing. But you can definitely see chromatic aberration beyond the plane of focus and before the plane of focus. And you might be saying to yourself, what is this mess and how do I not get this into the picture? Well, first thing you have to understand is what lens you're using, because chromatic aberration is a flaw of the lens. In this particular portrait, I was using a Tamron 90mm macro lens with a 2.8 aperture. Now, this lens, especially at a 2.8 aperture, and I can see some what looks like either fringing or moss or some kind of rust and corrosion. But on that lens, first off, it's a third-party lens. There is no Tamron camera. There's only Tamron lenses, and Tamron makes their lenses for big companies like Canon, Panasonic, Sony, and all the big camera makers. With that said, Tamron does not have the 100% gold mine for technology to put in their lenses for those camera bodies to communicate well with the lenses. So since those camera bodies can't communicate well with the lenses, you tend to either get a cheaper or, like I said, third party or knockoff version of what maybe the primary party would have. For example, this is the 90mm macro Tamron lens. Well, Canon might have a 90mm macro Canon lens. They probably have a 100mm. I've never seen Canon to have a 90mm macro, but with all that said, this is just a knockoff version. So specifically what's happening to the lens is that the lens cannot focus all of the light rays in the right area at the same time. So when you get chromatic aberration, that's a failure on your lens to be able to convert all or converge all the light rays at the right focal point at the right time, therefore giving you green and purple, what we call fringing, before and after the plane of focus. It's definitely something you can clean up in Photoshop, but at the time, I didn't really notice it, and I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't really focus on chromatic aberration. But if you're photographing for some people and they need you to have an image, with it being optically correct to a certain extent, you might want to buy a primary party lens, a more expensive lens, or just a lens in general that does not create this chromatic aberration. Now, no lens is perfect, but most lenses that are higher end or has, you know, more value to them with better coatings and better engines in them, or little small motors that, like ultrasonic motors and stuff like that, that can move the lens in a way that's finely calibrated to the target point that you want to focus on. Like, I want to say, let's say the Canon 85mm 1.2 RF lens. That's one of the more modern lenses that's close to this lens. Or the Canon 85mm f2 lens. That's also a macro lens that's really close to the focal length of this lens here. It doesn't have much chromatic aberration at all when I did my testing on it. So this is just chromatic aberration. I know it's a complicated word, and a lot of people don't understand what it means, but it's actually a flaw of the lens. It's not a flaw of the camera, it's a flaw of the lens. That means the lens can't focus all of the light all at one point at your appropriate focus point, or your selected focus point. And that's pretty much it. I'm Devin with Century FX Studios. Support the channel by clicking the links. If you want the 90mm macro, I think they have a more updated version. This was like the first version Tamron ever made, and I put it on like a Canon 5D Mark II. So that was the situation that I was in. But if you want a more updated version, and it may or may not have chromatic aberration, I don't know. But it shouldn't have as much as this lens. Check the links below for a new Tamron 90mm, or a newer one than I was using that day. And stay tuned for the next episode.